लोग आपके लिए लेके आए हैं। ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट सेशन है, बहुत अच्छा सेशन है, एंड मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंटली बहुत सही समय पे हम आपके साथ इस सेशन को लेके आए हैं। वी हैव विद अस निखिल सर, एंड वी हैव विद अस me as well, Nikhil. And we both are here to make you understand that what is the importance of profile building when you go for examination like CAT, ZAT, NMAT, and all of these. Uh, Sir, being from a very prestigious college called PIBM, will also, which is Pune Institute of Business Management, will also try to make you understand that on the front of the college perspective, what is the college requirement from the student, and uh, how you can actually build that. So, firstly, your question would have been, सर अभी तो एक महीना बचा, एक महीने से भी कम बचा है हमारे कैट एग्जामिनेशन में, हमें अभी फोकस करना है अपने कैट के पार्ट पे। तो यस, दैट इज ट्रू, फॉर श्योर यू हैव टू डू दैट। बट इशू ये आता है कि जब तक आप शुरुआत करने की सोचते हैं, आप अपनी प्रोफाइल बिल्डिंग करने की सोचते हैं, तब तक वो समय आ चुका होता है जब आपको यही नहीं पता कि अब कैसे करें, क्योंकि आपके पास मुश्किल से 15 दिन, 20 दिन, महीने भर है टू यू नो फेस योर इंटरव्यू। एंड उस एक महीने में आप 6 मंथ्स का कोर्स या 3 मंथ्स का कोर्स आप कर ही नहीं पाएंगे, राइट? सो उस समय वो चीज़ फेक और ज़्यादा लगने लगती है कि अरे आपने ये लिखा हुआ है कि आप ये पर्टिकुलर एनजीओ से एसोसिएटेड है, लेकिन एनजीओ से कब एसोसिएट हुए आप? जस्ट 10 days before, 5 days before. So we don't want you to do that. And at the same time, when you are going to be an MBA aspirant and you don't know the difference between what is CV, what is the difference between CV, resume and biodata. अगर हमें ये difference भी नहीं पता है, तो I think it is the right time to awaken and change these basic facts and get these basic facts clear with us. And for that, we have Nikhil sir with us, who is a very experienced mentor, and we are very glad that he accepted our request and he's here with us. Hello, Nikhil sir. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
So over to you, sir. I'll just make myself not visible, and please take over, sir.
All right. So, good evening, everyone, and thank you, sir, for such a warm welcome, actually. And as sir has mentioned very clearly, that this session is going to be important for you guys, specifically when you are going to make your own profile. And when we talk about the profile, see, when if profile is considered, the resume is considered as your first impression with the recruiter, or if you are going for a good college, then it's a first impression when you are going to show your personality there. So what happens when we have this kind of portfolio or resume, and what mistakes we basically do? We'll be covering all of these stuff. Now, when it comes to the format, the first question which normally I get from the students, that sir, what should be the format of my resume? Now, see, that is a very personal choice of yours. You have multiple formal resume patterns, which are the templates are there, which are there available online. So you can take that. The point is the overall setup of the resume matters. Where you have put the information, that matters. What things are there, what points to be considered there, all these things we'll be covering in this particular segment. Make sure, if you are watching me on YouTube or wherever platform you're watching me here, have a copy and a pen with you. I'll be giving you a lot of notes. I'll be giving you a lot of points to consider, specifically when it comes to resume writing, and then we'll be focusing on LinkedIn after that, because that is one of the most important platform nowadays for the recruiters specifically. Earlier it was like there were a lot of different kind of website used to be there, like Naukri.com, Indeed, Times Jobs. These were there, but right now the first and foremost thing which any of the employer or any of the college looks for is your LinkedIn profile. So we'll be covering both of them. So let's begin with the first part, that is resume writing. So when we are talking about resume writing, how things are there. Number one, what are the points to consider? As I told you very clearly that in this session, I'll be giving you a lot of points. Make sure you are having a copy and a pen with you. Write it down, because these are, at times you might feel that these are very common mistakes which we won't be able to do. But at the end you make it. I'll tell you why. Because I have been taking interviews for Big Fours. I have been taking interviews for many of the companies as well as for the colleges. In fact, being a chartered accountant, I have taken a lot of interviews of the chartered accountants also. So these are certain mistakes which they do normally. So what are the points to consider? Number one, resume summary is important. I will not waste for the time. I'll just begin the session right away to the point. When I'm talking about resume, summary, the first part of the resume, I'm not talking about your name and your photographs up the top. I'm talking about the resume, the objective, career objective, rather, you can say. Now, that is the most, what the point where we hit the candidate. How? If you see the resumes, normally they at times they just type it from the chat gpt, or they are using google to get an attractive summary, to get an attractive career objective. What they do, what students or candidates do, they just copy and paste it out. So being an interviewer, as Nikhil sir was also there in this particular day, and he wanted us to take this session, and I am very peculiar on that particular ground, that I will share whatever there is there in the industry, whatever happens in the industry. So being an interviewer, at times I ask the student, can you tell me what is your career objective or your resume summary, whatever you have written in your resume right now, what is the page which I have in my hand right now? Out of 100, 90 students will fail to give me correct answer of what they have written about their career objective in their resume. A most important and the most silliest mistake which a candidate does. So resume summary is very important. Use keywords from the job description. Usually, when I talk to students, they say, sir, can I make this particular resume for this particular job? That makes sense. But can I make this resume for all the jobs? No, you can't. I'll give you a small example for that. As you are planning to go for MBA, and suppose if you are making your resume, and suppose if you are from MBA Finance, so there might be a company who is having a background of a fintech, right? Or a company who is into FMCG, or a company who is into investment banking, or a company who is into equity research, or a company who is into corporate finance, or a company which is a bank giving you commercial credits job. So what to write in your resume will differ from each and every company. Now, usually this is considered at many places, that this is considered, sir, are we using a better, are we using a good trick specifically for this particular segment, that क्या हम ये वाली चीज कर दें, क्या ये हम सही कर रहे हैं? बिल्कुल सही कर रहे हो, क्या प्रॉब्लम है? Let's take an example. If you're MBA finance, don't you know what is commercial credits? Commercial credits, that means the balance sheet of a bank, or you need to analyze the balance sheet. Don't you know that? You know that. But what I'm trying to tell you is, when you are focusing on resume summary, and when you are focusing on a job of a bank, being of MBA finance guy, you need to mention that you are having experience or you have good knowledge connected to their profile. So job description has to be read very peculiarly, and you need to take the keywords from job description, and you have to put it in your resume. Suppose now I'm taking example of MBA finance. Okay, so in MBA finance, if there is federal bank which is coming to your campus for the interview sessions, if Deloitte is coming for global taxation, so automatically the resume summary for both of them will have some differences, not exact the same. It will not be same. If it is same, then it is a generic resume. It will not, it will not be used. So please make sure your keywords are very important from the job description. Make sure that you're not using casual language. The language should be very peculiar. The language should be something which is very formal. And for that, you need to have good communication skills. Now, communication skills are very important. No matter what, if you feel that, okay, I am not having good communication skills, I might lack in English speaking, I might have less confidence when I'm talking to normally to any other people, and specifically in English. No, it will not work. You need to improve it. No doubt. You have to improve your language. In fact, we prefer that the students should know one more extra foreign language. But here, if your English is not good, it is going to hamper you. So what you can do now, see, in this session, I'll be giving you some cheat codes as well. It's very simple. Use ChatGPT, which you must be using nowadays. Everyone is using nowadays, right? So whatever you want to write about yourself, you can just correct it out through ChatGPT. But my personal preference is that you should always learn the language first and then go for these kind of tools. AI, artificial intelligence, Normally, people ask me, sir, will artificial intelligence will take our jobs? No, it will not. Don't worry. If you are skilled, if you are not skilled, if you are not ready to learn, if you are someone who are just waiting for AI to do something for you, it is not gonna help for you. But if you are going to create AI, if you are planning to have your proper communication with AI, nowadays in US there is a course for prompt engineering. Now, what is prompt engineering? To give proper commands to AI so that you can get the fruitful results. All these things give you one particular thing in your mindset, that language is important. And secondly, casual language will not be entertained in the resume. Just in case if you have written something casually in your resume and you have been selected for the interview round, you are gonna get roasted on that particular part. Mark my points. All right. Next is edit resume according to the job description, which I have mentioned you here clearly. Right. Next, resume length. Now, this is again very important. When I'm talking about resume length, I'm talking very clearly on one particular part. That is, if you are writing your resume, it should not have a length of more than 3 pages. You might have a lot of things to write, but you have to summarize it in the manner. Nowadays, in fact, 3 pages are not also welcomed. Nowadays, recruiters want one, maximum 1.5 page. We want the information very crisp. We want the things we have already mentioned in your job description. Whatever is there in your portfolio, make it very clear and then send it to us. So I was talking to one of the HR of a big four. I can't name the big four which I'm talking about. The HR told me, sir, nowadays we are actually filtering out those resumes who are having 2.5 page length. 2.5 or more than 2.5. One of my friend is working in Big Four, being a chartered accountant. So I have a lot of chartered accountants friends who are working in Big Four. So they told me, can you check my resume? So that resume was 1 pager. Now just understand what I'm trying to tell you. The resume length should not be huge. It should be precise. That doesn't mean you don't need to write your details. It is important to write your details. How it will be written, I'll share it with you. Next, very important, that is chronological. Now, at times, what students make the mistake about, how they make some certain kind of mistakes. So if they are writing their details of 12th class, then obviously first, second, third year has to be written. At times they start with first, second, third year, and then they start with 12th and then 10th. See, chronology is very important. This is a very minute point which actually I told you. मैं ये मान रहा हूँ ये आपको सबको पता होगा. But the point is, when I'm talking about chronological and then I'm talking for your own resume, अगर आप एक्सपीरियंस्ड हो और आपने बहुत सारी इंटर्नशिप्स करी हुई हैं, अगर आपने अलग अलग लेवल के कोर्सेज किए हुए हैं, तो जब जब वो कोर्स किए हैं उसकी लेंथ आपको बहुत क्लियरली बतानी पड़ेगी, उसकी क्रोनोलॉजी बहुत क्लियरली बतानी पड़ेगी. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, I am a chartered accountant as of now. So if I'm making my resume, so I'll be mentioning my first part would be, as of now, I'm working in PIBM. Okay, I'm a professor in PIBM. So it should be there at the first part. Now, before that, what I was doing, I have to mention next. उसके पहले मैं क्या कर रहा था, फिर बाद में मेरे को वो मेंशन करना है. So the chronology is very important. So make sure you're writing it chronologically. Next, functional focuses on skills and ability. So when I see resumes of various students from various different part of the countries, rather I should say, what common mistakes they do is writing their soft skills or even writing their skills regarding their software skills, rather I should say. Everyone, if he's going for marketing or HR or finance, everyone is writing that they are having expertise knowledge in Tally ERP9. Tally, first of all, it is Tally. Tally is an accounting software. ERP9. And they say on this, we have expertise knowledge. We are expertised in that. So if a person is coming from marketing background, suppose if you have done BBA marketing and you are coming with that kind of information to me, obviously I'll be asking you, what do you know about Tally? So I'll be asking you certain commands, right? So don't write it that way. It is very important. Don't write something which is not correct. You can elaborate what you have done, but you shouldn't write whatever is incorrect or you haven't done. If you are having expertise. Now, next is MS Office. They outrightly mentioned we are having software skills, MS Office. If you are good in PPT, PowerPoint presentation, write it there. Excel, if you have done advanced Excel, that is great. As Nikhil sir mentioned me that, sir, what kind of courses our students should go after their CAT exam and before joining their colleges. This is one of the point which I want to, make it very clear here. So what I'll do, I'll be giving you certain courses in the mid segments of the session itself. One of them is advanced Excel. Advanced Excel is so important. Nowadays, there are a lot of companies who are making their softwares, and in fact, they're making their sheets, MIS report, through advanced Excel only. And I'm not talking about basic Excel. I'm talking about advanced Excel. Okay, so it is very important. So what we do, we at PIBM, we have a lot of softwares which we train students on. On that, one of them is advanced Excel. Suppose there is a ARP system of SAP. So we train students in SAP because that is again required in the job description. So if a student is already trained in SAP, that is SAP, and they are mentioning it in their resume, and company is asking for SAP requirement, then automatically the selection chances are high. I hope you're getting my point. The point is very clear that why we train students on these softwares, because that is required in the job description. They mention it very clearly in their job description that we want SAP qualified students. So that is very important to focus on, right? So advanced Excel is something which is very important. Next, combination. Combination means mix of both the formats. There are a lot of different kind of formats. Don't just copy paste your format from any of the website. You can just mix it out and use both, right? That is what I was trying to say. Next, again, it is very important, summary. I am actually focusing on summary quite a elongated way. Reason being, summary is the face of your resume. And when the face is doubtful, it becomes very negative. And if face is impressive, hey, don't take it otherwise, please. I'm not talking about real face of yours. I'm talking about face of the resume. Okay. So resume का face अगर अच्छा है और resume के face ने अगर आपको impress कर दिया है, तो chances of getting selected would be much higher. So that is why I wanted to tell this. That results oriented marketing professionals with 5 years in digital strategy driving 20% year on year growth. This is an example actually what I wanted to give you. Suppose if a person has done digital marketing and they want to just explain that what exactly they did in their last job, in their last training, or in their last internship. It is so clearly mentioned. Results oriented marketing professional. I'm a result oriented marketing professional with 5 years of experience, or whatever experience you are in digital strategy and driving 20% year on year growth. Now, what happened here? Actually, I'll give you a cheat code here. That is STAR. STAR. 4 letters, 4 words. STAR. STAR. Situation, task, action, results. Now, what does this mean? This is a strategy actually. This is a strategy which you will find on internet as well. This is a strategy to write your performance or write your overall personality or your first impression, I would rather say. Situation, explain your situation, where you were. T is for task, what task you were doing. Action, how you did that, and what is the result. So if you mention that thing in your summary, it is gonna be a rock star of your resume. So please make sure your summary should be very clear and very peculiar. Next, points to consider. Quantify achievements wherever it is possible. For example, if you have done any internship and you were working, let's take an example, you were working in Kotak Securities. And in Kotak Securities, as an intern, you were given 50 lakhs of capital from your fund manager, and you were trading in that particular segment. So suppose this is 50 lakhs is negligible actually, but I'm just giving you an example so that you can calculate certain things, right? So you are doing internship. So normally you must be having a doubt, sir, in internship, will we get funds? So if you're going with your skills, and if the person has all the skills which are required, they definitely get this kind of opportunity to trade also, because in finance you can have different kind of internships. I'll give you an example. So at PIBM, after the first semester, student need to go for an internship, and after the second semester, again they have to go for an internship. Normally in the colleges, after second semester, they have to go for an internship. So after the first internship, if you are good enough in your particular segment, suppose if you are planning to go for finance, the companies like Kotak Securities, Motilal Oswal, JM Financials will give you a portfolio in your hand, and now you need to trade it, right? So if you are trading it, and if you just suppose if you have got 3 to 4% of return on portfolio in 1 month, which is good, which is very good, 3 to 4% of the returns. So if you're getting this kind of return, and if you have you are mentioning it in your resume, you have the certificate for that from your employer or the person with whom you are doing internship, mention it, and specifically mention it that in this particular internship, result oriented, I told you, right? So mention it very clearly that I did this particular trading on the grounds of what checklist I was having. I made 4% return in a month for the client. It will work. It will work. Next, list your degrees, majors, and institutions very clearly, because at times it happens that you mention, let's take an example, you have done BBA. Now, in Mumbai, the degree is different. BBA is there. There are a lot of other degrees also. Normally, for the people who are from the central part of the country, we have only BCom and BBA, usually in commerce. Now, in Bombay, it is different. BHMS is the course name. They have different kind of courses. So mention it very clearly rather than don't mention the abbreviations. Just mention all the full forms. That will help, right? And mention your majors very clearly. Suppose if you have done BBA marketing, make sure that marketing is written very nicely. Include your GPA if it is strong. Now, why I mentioned that? Why I'm saying if it is strong? If it is weak, then so if it is weak, then the person who is taking your interview will take that point, and that point will be elongated. That point will be there in your resume in your interview for more than 6 to 7 minutes. Trust me on that, because they will be asking you why you have scored less. I'm not saying don't mention it. I'm saying highlighting is very important. And GPA, if you can just mention, suppose if you have done BCom, for example, I'm saying, if you have done BCom, and you can just mention the years. Now, if the other person, the interviewer, if he is asking you, what was your GPA? Now you explain it. Now this is your chance to explain the situation, what kind of situation happened there, why you have not performed well, and what you are doing good for that. So all these things are very important. It's quite critical. Next. Use a clean, professional font. Now, this is very important. Very important. Nowadays, what people do, first of all, you need to use Arial, Calibri, Times New Roman. I believe that these three are best to go for a formal resume. This is not your love letter. This is not a casual letter. This is not a letter for you to just meant to impress the other person in a different way. This is a purely formal document. For this formal document, make sure you are using clean and professional font. So what happened, I was taking interviews for a Big Four company, and that interview was specifically for chartered accountants. So chartered accountants, they don't get these kind of trainings. They get these kind of trainings at a very later part of their degree, rather, I should say. So there were a lot of people who didn't attend that, and then a resume came in my hand. That I don't remember that what kind of font it was, but I'll tell you, trust me on that, I was not able to read what he has actually done. So this is not done, right? For you guys, you are quite fortunate that we are training you guys for this particular thing. At PIBM, every day there is communication class, every day. So every day you need to have communication with people. So your language becomes proper. Then you need to write a lot of things. So automatically writing becomes better. Resume writing is having a separate segment. We focus on that particular ground separately, because we know when a student is going for their interviews, automatically it will be helpful for that particular student. So make sure you are using a clean, professional font. Clear? Next, the last part, which I consider this thing very important. I have mentioned it thrice as of now in my session as of now itself. Use the keywords from the job descriptions, because nowadays there are a lot of companies who have ATS. ATS is not anti-terrorist squad. It is applicant tracking system. What is that? You know what happens nowadays? Suppose if TCS is giving their jobs, okay, if TCS is recruiting. Actually, TCS recruits throughout the year. So if TCS is recruiting students, not from the management, I'm saying from engineering, management, from everywhere, they get resumes in bulk. Now they have a software who reads the resume, they have their filters, and if the keywords, what they have mentioned in the job description, are not there in the resume, they will find it out. And the keywords which are there in the resume, they will filter it out. They have ATS, applicant tracking system. So that's why I was very clear in my first part of the session that if you are going to write your resume, you have to make keywords as your base. And for every company, it might happen. If you're applying for 10 companies, you might have 10 different resumes. It might happen. I'm saying it's not sure, but it might happen. So be ready for that. Right? So these are points to consider when you're making your resume, which is very important to understand. Next is mention key skills. Suppose if you are good at public speaking, mention it. They will definitely try you there in their interview. But if you are good in it, mention it. Right? Extracurriculum activities and achievements can be mentioned, no doubt. Now, I'll give you some different kind of formats which nowadays students are using, even employees are using. So, in the overall setup of a page, say, let's take an example, it's an A4 page. So what they do certain bifurcation of the body first. And in the column side, they mention about different kind of extracurriculum activities which I have done, even for the NGOs and all. So mention it in a different column, it works. Because the employers don't want to see multiple pages. So in the first page, the body is there, which you are mentioning about your skills, where you are mentioning about your resume summary, where you are mentioning about the degrees, what you have done, when you are mentioning about your experience. In the small part of their segment, they mention about extracurriculum. It's an innovative way of mentioning it, but it's a nice way of mentioning it. Now it is in as of now. Next, Time Roman and Arial I mentioned. Size of the font is again very important. 16, 12, and 11. This is what we suggest. I personally believe when I take the sessions for various institutes, I give it as a rule that your rule should be 16, 12, and 11. That is, 16 should be the name because it should be highlighted, your name, right? And then sections, it should be mentioned very clearly in the 12 font, and the body should be in 11. This is my suggestion to you. If you want to take it, you can definitely take it. If you want to change it a bit, you can change accordingly. But make sure that it is not huge and then your body is very small. Don't do that. Make sure it is in the proper proportion. Right? Very short but relevant story can be included. Now, what does this mean? In resume summary, or if you want to explain something in your any of the job where you are mentioning your experience, you can definitely add a small story which should not be more than 2.5, 3 lines. It should be very short. You can mention that. That is something which is not needed, but if you want to, you can do. Sometimes, at times, students ask me, sir, do you feel it will be negative for us if we are mentioning this kind of story? No. If it is relevant, if it is very important for your job descriptions, keywords, you can definitely mention it. But just don't be, as in you are mentioning stories and all, and you're just mentioning stories. Don't do that. Ek story kafi, it's more than enough to give you the insight of what the personality you are, right? So what are the mistakes? What are the mistakes which students do or the employers do? Employees rather do. So first, incorrect information, which I mentioned it in the first part very clearly. Incorrect information means, see, it's very important to know this, that if you have done something, mention it. If you have not done anything, don't mention it. Employers, interviewers are experienced and they are smart enough to judge whether you have done that thing or not. And if they judge it correctly, which they will roast your interview completely. And then after that, you will come out of the interview room and then you'll say, interview was not that great. I think they roasted me quite a bit more what I was expecting. So I'll tell you what, when I was getting trained, I'm talking about 14 years back, my senior who trained me, mention me one thing very clearly. बोले निखिल, तू अपना इंटरव्यू, तेरा इंटरव्यू इंटरव्यूअर खराब नहीं करेगा, तेरा इंटरव्यू तू खुद खराब करेगा। तू इंटरव्यूअर को बोलेगा ये उंगली पकड़ो और ये इधर लेके जाओ और यहां पे जाके मुझे धक्का दे दो। इसको मैं गहराई से समझाता हूँ क्या है। आई विल एक्सप्लेन यू दैट। ही वाज ट्राइंग टू टेल मी दैट निखिल, इफ यू आर गिविंग एन इंटरव्यू, you are going to do the mistakes. You are going to say something which is abrupt. You are going to say something which was not needed. You are going to mention something in your resume which was not needed, or you are not supposed to mention it. If in these three situations you are getting caught, then he will ask you certain questions, and then you will be replying something which is again abrupt, and you will be trashed completely. So please mention this thing very clearly, or please understand this thing clearly. आप खुद इंटरव्यूअर को उंगली पकड़ के लेके चलोगे कि चलो मेरे को गड्ढे में डाल दो, तो इनकरेक्ट इंफॉर्मेशन डालने का जरूरत नहीं है। Am I saying you can't elaborate or exaggerate? Exaggerate, no problem. Exaggerate, but it should be a certain limit of exaggeration. But if you have not done something, don't mention it. Next, goal oriented. It should be self-driven, bottom line, thinker, extensive experience. These kind of keywords, please avoid it. I have clearly mentioned it on the screen. Avoid it. When I'm saying avoid it, goal oriented. I am goal oriented person. Avoid it. Self-driven. Avoid it. Bottom line thinker. Avoid it. Extensive experience. Avoid it. Okay? Why I'm telling you to avoid these? And why I have mentioned these 4 points here? Because in my session, usually I will mention this thing on the screen or any of my lecture if I have experienced that particular. So when I see the resumes of students, they say we are goal oriented. Okay, tell me about your goal. I want to be successful. I want to earn this much. Is it your goal? Now, after the interview, that person will get confused in his own life. What is his goal? Because I'm going to ask again and again the same question, and I will not get the proper answer for sure. Next is self-driven. What do you mean by self-driven? Are you a car or what? What is that self-driven? I can drive myself. I have that kind of motivated life. I have that motivation in myself. I can drive myself and I can move further in my life. I'll tell you what, you are actually taking not his finger, you are taking his hand and trying to ask him, Chal gadde mein meko fek de bhai. He's going to ask you very, very peculiar questions. Bottom line thinker. Avoid it. I hope you have got, now I hope you got the gist of this particular point. Extensive experience. Extensive experience. Usually I get this kind of resumes. I have extensive experience in sales. What do you sell? The person was working in HUL and he was selling the products of HUL, which is FMCG. How extensive experience works there? And you have done internship of 3 months. Avoid these things. Next, spelling mistakes. Make sure you're doing it very clearly. Just in case, if you feel that you are not good in English that much, take your resume, copy paste it on ChatGPT, and you can ask that also, right? Proofreading, ChatGPT will do. Or I would rather suggest you must be having mentors in your life. You must be having proper guides, proper teachers. Go to them. Just ask them to scan your resume, and they will give you the spelling mistakes also. Please avoid it because spelling mistakes are so irritating. You can't even believe what happens after that, right? Next is lying. Don't lie. That I have mentioned very clearly. Unprofessional email IDs. This is very important. So my email ID is nikhil.nainani and @ whatever. At times I see a lot of people making their email IDs very attractive. They try to be attractive, but that is very unprofessional. Angel One, not Angel One, Angel Nikhil. These kind of, please avoid it. Your name should be your email address, nothing else. But if you see, sir, I have a very common name. So if I have a common name, then what can happen? That in that situation, there are a lot of people who might have that kind of name with what I have. So what you can do, add your birth date. It's very simple. Add your birth date in that. It is simpler to do that, right? But please don't make unprofessional email IDs. That it is It is actually very irritating to see that. Next is poor layout and formatting, which I mentioned you. Font size, we have already discussed quite a bit of that. Next, let's come towards the LinkedIn part. In the last part of the session, if you have any doubts or something, please mention it in my chat box, or you can just send me the messages on the YouTube itself. I can definitely clear it out. LinkedIn, the most important website for any professional nowadays. It's very simple to understand because 80% of the recruiters are actually focusing on your LinkedIn profile. So what they do, first they have their resume writing, which you mentioned it, right? And then they scan your profile on LinkedIn, what kind of LinkedIn you have. So why LinkedIn matters? Because it's a top platform for professional networking nowadays. Next, 80% of the recruiters use LinkedIn to find candidates. One of my student from my earlier batch, I think it was 2012, 2014-15 batch, 10 years back. She contacted me recently and she was asking me, sir, I have a doubt that my resume is not being scanned. My LinkedIn profile is being scanned. What do you mean by that? Well, sir, I want to work in Dublin. So Dublin is a city in a foreign country named Ireland. There you have a city named Dublin. In Dublin, there was a recruiter who didn't ask her to send her resume, who just asked her, what is your LinkedIn profile? Nothing else. Simply LinkedIn profile. No resume required. So 80% of the recruiters use LinkedIn to find candidates. Now, I'm saying here, finding the candidates and scanning the profile. In that part, that recruiter didn't wanted to have resume of that candidate. Can you understand the difference? So that is how LinkedIn is important. If I want to recruit some of the employees for my own company, I will not go for any of the website first or any of the platforms first. I will rather go for LinkedIn first and check if someone is open to get hired. You have that option on LinkedIn as well. So all these things are important. That's why LinkedIn matters a lot. Building a strong LinkedIn can improve visibility and career opportunities, no doubt. I don't have that. I hope even you don't have that doubt on that. So in LinkedIn, how to make a proper LinkedIn profile. Number one, define your goal properly. Now you must have the confusion, sir. Before 2-3 slides, you were saying goal oriented नहीं लिखने का है. यहाँ पर हम define अपना करें goal. Am I saying to write goal oriented here? No. I'm saying that whatever is your goal for next 2-3 years or 5 years, just mention it very clearly, right? Suppose what do you want LinkedIn to do for you? Suppose if you are going for a job, to get a job. If you are going to build a network, build a network. So these are the options which you get when you get logged in with LinkedIn. It should be very clear. As a student, as of now, I would rather say you can just definitely mention build a network, right? To build a network with the alumni of the college which you are eyeing for, to build a network with the companies where you are eyeing for, to know the people who are actually doing certain kind of job which you are eyeing for. So all these things are mentioned very clearly, should be mentioned very clearly. Tailor your profile to reflect your specific goals. That means if I'm here to build a network, so automatically my details would be according to building the network. If I'm there to get a job, so accordingly my details would be according to the job recruitments. And if I'm there to establish expertise, that means I'm looking for LinkedIn courses. So my profile, it should be tailored accordingly, right? See, can I have 2-3 goals as of now? Suppose if I want to build a network to get a job, and then I would like to establish the expertise. Select one. Don't do that. It is gonna be a mixed bag. It is not gonna help you. So be very clear on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is not something which is very elaborated. It is something which is purely a professional profile. So make sure you're writing it very clearly. Next, profile picture and banner. This is very important to note. LinkedIn is not a platform where you are actually uploading your Diwali pictures. Or if you have gone to a marriage and then you have taken a picture there, you can't put there. You need to have professional picture there. Or even banners are also important. Use a high quality professional headshot. Now, when I'm talking headshot, that means we are talking about the face. No one wants to see your Instagram profile on LinkedIn. In Instagram, you can post whatever you want to, but in LinkedIn, it should be very clear and the quality of the photo which you are actually putting on the LinkedIn, it should be high quality, professional headshot. Next, aim for friendly and approachable, right? Use the banner to visually convey your profession and or professional personal brand. So here, right now, being a student, if you're using a banner, make sure you're using the banner of what actually you have done somewhere. For an example, if you are good in public speaking and you have taken a photo where you are taking the you are taking the lecture or whatever stage you are at, you can take the photo of that, you can use it as a banner. If you are already a working professional or if you are having your own company setup, mention about that. So banner is again very important. You won't believe when we check the resumes of a lot of students and when we scan the LinkedIn profile, at times, because though their resume is attractive, at times because of their LinkedIn profile, we reject the students. It is so that important. Next, website like Canva offer free banner templates. If you want to use it, you can use it, right? Next, craft a compelling headline. Very important. Your headline should be very good. Avoid just listing a job title, highlight expertise and value. You should highlight the expertise and value there. Like, let's take an example. My name is Nikhil Nanani and I am a chartered accountant. I'll just mention chartered accountant. That's it. So automatically it is not going to work. I have to put some highlight expertise. Like I'm expert in stock markets. So I will mention that thing in an attractive manner. So mention it very clearly. Next is example. I have given you example here itself. Digital marketing strategist. Then slash is after the slash. There is helping brands grow with data-driven campaigns. This works. This kind of thing works. For you, how you can do that? First, use your creativity, use your mindset, use your knowledge on that. First, you do on your own self. Then you can take the help of your professional mentors and take that help. It is very important. Next, skills and endorsement. Now, in LinkedIn, it is very important. Like in resume, we mentioned the skills, soft skills, and what kind of other skills you have. But in LinkedIn, endorsements are very important. Let's take an example. Suppose if you and me are connected to LinkedIn, and suppose if you are actually making your LinkedIn right now, and suppose I am your faculty or I have trained you in particular segment. Suppose if I have trained you in stock markets. Okay, so please ask me, sir, can you endorse some work to me, and can I mention it on there on my LinkedIn? Then it will have some kind of segment where it is written that you have got endorsements from Nikhil Nanani, who is a chartered accountant for this particular work. It helps. It helps the employer. It helps the interviewer to judge that yes, this guy or this girl has some kind of credibility in their work, right? So how it works? Select relevant skills to feature at the top. Relevant skills. Now, can you just make different LinkedIn profiles as you are making a resume? No. In this particular segment, you have to mention it very clearly what your expertise at. Suppose if you're good in stock market, mention it stock market. Then you mention commercial banks. When you mention credits, whatever you have to mention, just mention it chronologically. It's okay. But in resume, your job description is very important. Make sure whatever you're writing in your resume is as per the job description. So that the keywords, right? Next, endorse others to encourage the reciprocations. That's okay. Get the recommendations. Getting recommendation is very important. Huh? Recommendations act as a testimonials for your expertise, obviously. So if you already have some experience and someone is actually praising your work, it helps. It helps to get a new job. It helps to get a new work. It helps to get admission in a good college. Obviously, this works. So recommendations should be from the proper people, huh? Not from a friend. You must have asked your friend who is sitting beside you. Can ask him that, okay, hey, recommend me on your LinkedIn. Okay, I'll recommend you. So that will not work. If that person is from a particular company and then if he is recommending that thing, that is work that can work, but not as a normal profiles if you are going in. Politely request recommendation from your colleagues and or mentors. Right? Next, aim for a mix of endorsements from managers, peers, and clients. Then what does this mean? Ask your managers, ask your seniors, ask your people who are around you. If you have done any internship or something, ask your persons, the leaders or your bosses who have taken you as an intern there, ask them to endorse this thing, ask them to recommend. It will work. Now, this can be a question in your mind right now. Sir, if we are not that much experienced, if we are fresher, then it will take time. LinkedIn is not something which you will build overnight. It will take time then. If you have already done that, that will be helpful for you. Engage with content. So now this is very important. This is what even I do. So if you go to my LinkedIn profile, because I'm not that much active on LinkedIn, so it is very different way in the LinkedIn right now. But I try to put the content there which is connected to my profile, and it should be shareable content. It should be a content where you can have some discussion on and you can give some insight out of it. Let's take an example. Suppose if I'm going to put something today regarding Israel-Iran war and how it is going to impact the finances of their country and how it is going to impact India's stock market. So if I put the data accordingly, and then we give you certain different kind of options to use, or there are different kind of questions to answer, it will be more engaging, right? Let's take an example. Uh, After the results of elections, what happened in this year, 2024, there was a company in Hyderabad, and in rather, I'll say in Telangana, which got boosted like anything because one of the leader from Telangana was in support of the current government. That person's name is question mark. Now people will start writing it. It is Chandrababu Naidu ji. And then I'll give you one more question in the pinned comment. That will be which company? So I'll give you two options. One is Amul and second is Heritage Food. Now in Heritage Food, Chandrababu Naidu ji is already having its stake. So this is the guide, this is the engagement which we are looking for. This was just an example. You can use it anyway. Let's take an example. If you are going for marketing stuff and if you want to have some engaging content there, just give a brand, or rather, I would say, just give a tagline of any of the product and ask which company is it. Or if you want to mention something which is not good in the market as of now, mention it and just ask the opinion. Make it more engaging. It works. It will help you to build your network. It will help you that people from different kind of different kind of areas, they will contact you, or they will start following your content, or they will try to have any kind of work through you, or they will try to endorse some work to you. All these things work if you are making an engaging content, right? Next, join and contribute to groups. It's not only that you need to make your content for your own self. It's like if you are making content on LinkedIn, make sure that you are going to to famous people's pages and you are contributing there as well. So it's not as in the people will contribute on your page. You have to contribute to other pages also, to other profiles also. Go and comment. Relevant, right? So that people can connect to you after that. So I hope I have given you a lot of things today. I'll give you final tips for success, specifically on LinkedIn. I'm talking about keep your profile up to date. That means whatever you do, just make it very clear that it is updated. Next, use relevant keywords for discoverability. On what grounds one can discover you on LinkedIn, and regularly connect with industries professionals. Make sure you are contacting a lot of people around you. So this is what I wanted to cover in resume writing and LinkedIn. I hope you have got a lot of content in this particular session. I hope you have got some value addition for this particular from this particular session, and I hope you will be using these skills as well. Secondly, every day we have lot of connections which we make on PIBM with different kind of corporates. They also comes to the colleges on weekends to give weekend lectures, and they share their experience and how they work in their companies and all. All these things are very important. So make sure you are adding that thing in your skills as well. So I hope you have got some value additions from today's session. If you have any questions or something, you can definitely mention it in the chat box. And yeah. All right, I'll be waiting there for the chat box if you have any questions. Rest, we are done with the tips and all for LinkedIn as well as for your resume writing. All right, so it will be there in my chat box as well for throughout the link which is there on YouTube. If you have any doubt over there, you can just post it there. I will be there to revert you there as well. Right? So I wish you all the best for your future. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you, sir.
All right.